Then I went again.
Well, he said,
spiritual dimension.
How precious and how
important in the world.
if you have a family.
Everyone else was astonished.
Mr. Evsey Nemotin grew up in Almaty, Kazakhstan during Soviet times. His father, Rebbe Yosef Nemotin, was active in the Jewish underground.
When Chassidim were running from Germans, Almaty was the most close and the most safe place to live in the war. So they finished up in Almaty. Then when Rebbe's parents came, Rebbe's father was a Rav in Dnipropetrovsk, and he was arrested in 1939 for spreading Judaism. And he was tortured a lot. And then in a couple of months, he was sent in exile in a village Chilik. Only Kazakhs were living there, and Kazakhs didn't speak Russian. So the Rebbe's family came in an environment when they could not communicate. It was a terrible life. I am not going into details. The Chassidim in Almaty, they didn't have a Rav. And my father made arrangements to bring the Rebbe in Almaty. It was not an easy task. In Russia, in the times of war, a person couldn't move from one place to another by himself. He had to get an official permission. But my father, being an outgoing man and having so many policemen as friends, managed to do it. When a Rebbe with the Rebbes are coming, that's great, but they have to eat. They need food. To have food, you need money. So what my father did, he organized collecting money among Chassidim. Every Shabbos, Friday, Saturday, he was going around Chassidim collecting money and giving them to the Rebbe. Once my father was invited to come to the Rebbe Tzedakah and Rebbe Levi Yitzchak in unusual time on Saturday. When they entered the house, Levi Yitzchak was laying and he was very feeble and he was crying. And when he was crying, Rebbe Tzedakah asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he answered, "Whom I am leaving you with? I am crying about leaving you alone." And it was the last time my father saw Rebbe Levi Yitzchak alive. He died. One day my father was passing by Rebbe Tzedakah's house and saw her crying. And he said, suddenly, by an impulse, "Rebbe Tzedakah, do you have relatives in Moscow?" She said, "Yes, but it's a very far away relative, and they don't live our life." And my father said, "I will send you in Moscow." And Rebbe Tzedakah, and he said Rebbe Tzedakah was so exhausted that she didn't have strength to say something against it. And she said, okay, she agreed. And then the question came up how to send an aged old lady alone from Almaty to Moscow when the train itself was traveling 4 days. And my father found a family, and they were going to Moscow. And they asked him, my father, to get a ticket and to Moscow, 2 tickets. He said, my father answered that he will give them a ticket if they will take another Chana. And they first disagreed, but then they found that it's impossible to get a ticket. And my father had acquaintances, but people whom he bribed. And these people arranged for him tickets. So they agreed, and they took Rebbe Nechana with them in Moscow, and he arranged to smuggle her out of the Soviet Union. When Levi Yitzhak, he died, my father would go there. He was taking care of the Rebbe's grave, and he was paying money to people to renew the paint, to clean this place. He took care of this. We came to America. We were in the Farbrengen. The Rebbe told the people that my father did for his parents something what he should have done himself. And then the Rebbe invited us, all of us, to come to his office. And we went there. When we were leaving the Rebbe's office, he suddenly approached my daughter, Ita, who was 6 years old, bent down to her, and he told my daughter, "Спасибо тебе." I remember this. He said in Russian, "Спасибо тебе." The Rebbe came out for the funeral of my father, and it was absolutely unusual. When we came with the casket to 770, the Rebbe went out and he was walking with us to say bye to my father. He really appreciated what he did, and he loved my father.